it's early. Should I do it? No. I guess, ooh, I'm getting some feedback here. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second monthly, I wonder if, John, I'm getting feedback here. I'm not touching anything. All right, welcome to our second Resident Association Board meeting. Welcome to everybody. I hope you noticed we have coffee and a little bit of food back there, so please help yourselves. Everybody's looking at me like, is she going to do anything besides welcome us? Yes, we are going to have our invocation with our chaplain, Duke Walker, to kick us off.
Thank you, Sharon. You've heard it said, build it and they will come. But I say to you, cook it and they will come. So, it's a privilege to offer the invocation this morning. Thank you for that opportunity. And when I heard you at the beginning, your last meeting, your first meeting, say that you were going to lead from a place of acknowledging the good that has been done and building from there, I thought, how courageous a way to gather people. And so I'm going to continue to learn from you on that this year. Thank you for leading like that.
Thank you.
Let's pray. Loving God, as we start this year, we reflect on the goodness you created in the beginning so all humanity could enjoy their life together with others. What a gift. And in your generosity, you invite us to participate in keeping this goodness alive. In the governance of the resident board, give them eyes to see all your goodness that has been established here at LVE. And give them the courage to work to see more of your goodness come to fruition in our life together here. May their work this year, no matter what it is, reflect the words of your courageous prophet who said that we are to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with you, that all might live here with a sense of your harmonious presence in our midst. We pray in your name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Thank you. The minutes of the January 16th, 2025 meeting, I need to call for an approval. Do I hear a motion? A second? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. And now, Marie Oates to give us our financial report. It's on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We began the month with $35,207. We received $150 for memorial leaves, $1,500 for the Employee Appreciation Fund, woodshop dues of $150, and interest of $8. We spent $89.73 for oil rags in the wood shop, and I voided a Christmas check for $50, leaving us a balance of $36,975. Are there any questions? Okay, enjoy the day, everybody.
Now, our Executive Director, Scott Cairns.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I always start with hiring updates. We continue to be fully staffed in our leadership positions across the community, so that's wonderful. This past Tuesday, as the director meeting took place, It was the biggest number of questions I've received since arriving. Many of you have probably seen them so far, so every floor representative and cottage representative has the opportunity to email them out to their constituents, which they have been doing, because I've gotten some follow-up questions, which I'm not sending out another report, but I'm responding to those as I get them. One of the questions, a resident suggested CPR training for residents. So we've already taken some action on that. We've reached out to a local organization, actually our firehouse, and they will be coming on March 12th to do a CPR class. More information will come out on the timing of it, but it's wonderful that they're doing it at no charge to us. We're partnering with them in a number of ways now, so that's going to be great, March 12th. We'll do it as often as needed, once or twice a year possibly, but we'll see if the interest continues to exist. But so CPR training coming on March 12th. More to come. The forum will take place next Thursday, the 20th, at 3:30 here in the auditorium. Our quarterly resident town hall, I've put out many times, will be March 5th at 3:30 here in the auditorium, with the topic being the resident survey from this past October. Steve Eggles, our Vice President of Operations, will report on the ACTS results, and then Tammy Stith, our administrator, will report on Willowbrook Court and Oak Ridge Terrace specific results to our community, and then I'll report on independent living results for our community. We'll also be giving some action plan next steps for those results. If you haven't had a chance to watch last Friday's coffee talk, Paige Thatcher, our Director of Assisted Living, presented on Oak Ridge Terrace and did a wonderful job. I was reminded, and I am aware of the need for a few upgrades in that area, and we'll be working on that. The carpet is our number one priority and is on our capital project list for this year. Not this first quarter, but sometime this year, so we're pushing to get that done. Tammy, our administrator, is also partnering with Lanier Tech. She had a representative from Lanier Tech come out to the community, tour the community for their nursing students program. So we'll be taking advantage of having them here, and they're really excited to be here as well. Lisa Peterson, our Director of Nursing, and I will be heading up to Philadelphia the week of February 24th to attend a ACTS Leadership Onboarding Program. ACTS has it's a 3.5-day program where we get to see the ins and outs of how corporate works. It's great for us because it helps us do our job better. We know who to go to when we want to get things done and when we need information. So we're looking forward to that. And then please continue to feel free to email me, pop in if you see my door open. I'm always available to you if my door's not closed. Any particular questions? I'm going to have a lot more information at the forum, and then this meeting falls right in between the asset director, which tons of information goes out, and the forum next week. So I don't always have a lot for this meeting, but I'm always here for you and I answer questions. Anything? Thank you all.
Scott, thank you for doing those Ask the Director. I mean, I think what that does is reduce you getting a lot of one-off questions all the time. And we can see that other people have the same questions we have. It's a great thing. I want to just reiterate a couple of things I said last time. I'm not going to make a big speech like I did. But we talked about appreciative inquiry, which is what Duke he made a reference to that. Start with what's working. Don't start with what the problems are, because we have lots of those, but we also have things that are working. And if we start there, it just changes your frame of reference. If we start to see things differently, then they change. You're looking at them differently, so that changes, as opposed to looking at them in a negative light. So there's a couple of steps that we can do that are pretty simple to remember that reinforce this concept in just our daily lives. Because I use the process a lot in a corporate setting for problem solving, creativity sessions, that kind of thing. But in our daily lives, of course, it's applicable. So you start with appreciate what we have in the present, now, the now. You can do this like when you get up every morning, what do I have to be appreciative of today? But the next step is get really clear about what we want. If you've ever managed a group, you know that it's kind of a revolving door all day. with problems, somebody coming in and here's my problem. And if you twist that a little bit and say, okay, I hear that. What do you want? You know, sometimes people focus so much on here's what I don't like and here's my problem. But what do you want? And now sometimes people haven't initially thought that through. Because sometimes, you know, be careful for what you wish for because you might get it. And then what will you have to complain about, you know? So what do you want? And that's deceptively simple to get clear on that. What do you want? And then take actions to create what you want. So that's what we're focused on this year. I think in the board and the committees, we're asking people to say, get clear on what you want, focus on a few things, and let's move the dial on those things. So that's my little reminder this time about the appreciative inquiry. I'm happy to talk about it anytime anybody wants to, but it is pretty straightforward. It sounds fancy, doesn't it? Appreciative inquiry, but it's start with the positive. And my leadership quote for this month is, great leaders don't set out to be a leader, they set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, it's always about the goal. I like that one. You know, I find that we tend to get exposed to things like this, quotes, and some of them are just like, yeah, okay. And some of them really resonate with people. So the ones, pay attention to what resonates with you, because it would indicate then that's something that you want to aspire to, and that's important information for yourself, right? If it really hits you in a positive way. All right. We're going to move to new business now. And our secretary, Caroline Mixon, has some comments that she wants to make about committees.
Are we good? Thank you. My name is Caroline Mixon, and I am your board secretary. My purpose in addressing you today is multifold. As we start a new year, a series of points came to our attention. For the last few months, your president and I have been looking at the purpose of this association and its effectiveness in the way we proceed. First of all, thank you for your patience in our first 100 days. Likewise. This organization is all about being a representative of the people who are our neighbors. The channels are sometimes bottom up, sometimes they're top down, sometimes we move laterally. The key word here is resident. Whether you are a representative, an alternate, a committee chair, management, an officer, a healthcare professional, or even a holy man, it is important that we are effective. Your reporting mechanism is a written document that you give me every month that is resulting from conversation in specific areas of operations that serve the resident. Please make sure you thank the management team that attends your meetings and the members of your committee as well. The effectiveness gets a little tricky when a concern hits the radar. Is it important? What's it cost? Whose budget does it affect? Whose authority is required for permission? That often may become a motion for action for your board. This is our home, our front gate, our kitchen, our workers, our helpers. But let me ask you, how many of you remember Les Miserables? Hand. Okay. Victor Hugo's book and Andrew Lloyd Webber's music. They had a master of the house. Remember him? Well, we have a master of the house whose purpose it is to take care of us, making sure we are properly cared for on all fronts. Our responsibility is to let the master of the house know when improvements are needed, when staff is performing well, when the environs are safe or not, beautiful and to our collective liking. It is important, therefore, that we be effective in designing our desires, realistic in affordability of our request, rationale for choices of items and situations to include in our reports. If you will, please review the actions of your committees, your floor inhabitants, and refine the purpose of correcting, enhancing, and modifying any of our current practices. Some of your committees, i.e. culinary, are very detailed. There's no simple way of refining a complex situation, and you can't do it in just a few sentences. But many of the items culinary solves in the culinary committee meeting. We don't hear all of that. We could read about it, but we're not faced with the solving. It happens here, and it happens with Ms. Lee and her committee. Each committee report is different. What is reported here is to create a synopsis, as you can read from Ms. Lee's example, that reflect bullet points of items of concern and a plan of resolution with a timetable. You have, or you will have, a copy of a table that I created using Mr. Herb Paul's report, first page of maintenance and safety. There's a column for the items that he suggested from his committee that needed to be addressed. And then it has who's responsible, whose permission, what's the cost, when did you bring it up, when did it get resolved. So we can look at a checklist each month, which we'll put together for you, that takes those bullet points and we see if we're effective. Does no good to just keep saying the same thing over and over. Train fence, garden bridge. It's easy as a glance to have realistic expectations considering corporate cash flow, timing of release of funds, and issues or topics that look like the proverbial can being kicked down the road. This body is not static. We're constantly evolving and upgrading ourselves, showing compassion for our constituents, and appreciate those for whom we employ. We must have reasonable expectations with doable solutions within effective timelines that afford all of us residents a safe harbor and peaceful atmosphere of loving kindness. Thank you for all that you do in helping us document the footprints that we're leaving. Thank you.
Well, that gives you something to think about, doesn't it, for the committees? I wasn't sure where Caroline was going with that. When she said Master of the House, I thought she might be going to the song, Do You Hear the People Sing, and was going to rally us out into... So that was a good path you took there, with Scott sitting right there. Whenever I hear that song, it just makes you want to stand up and wave a flag or something, yeah? All right, thank you, Caroline. We're going to do the board committee reports now, and we're going to start with bylaws, C.W. Marlowe.
Good morning, everyone. For the bylaws report, we're going to start off History 101. And that is to discuss last year, the bylaws committee proposed several amendments to the bylaws. These bylaws were then sent to the board. The board approved those bylaws, and we're in turn going to submit them to the annual meeting. But unfortunately, there was a illness, and the 21-day notice that is required to go to all the residents was not met, so those bylaws are in limbo. We'll move now to the present time, and Richard Hamill, Augie DeAugustus, and I were invited to the executive committee meeting to discuss the status of the 24 bylaw committee actions. The 2025 bylaw committee was asked by the executive committee to make a recommendation regarding the disposition of the 2014 bylaws. The 2025 bylaws committee met to discuss action taken by the 2024 board committee and arrived at the following game plan. The 2025 bylaws committee recommends that the 2025 bylaw plan is that the bylaws committee will disregard all action taken by the 2024 bylaw committee and the 2024 association board. This game plan was approved by the executive committee. The bylaw committee's agenda now is to review each article in our bylaws in accordance with Article 11, which addresses amendments. If the committee proposes any amendments to the bylaws, they will be submitted to the residence board at the October meeting. Any questions? Yes.
I don't understand the words you said. You all worked all through 24 to get bylaws changed, and now you're saying disregard all that and start over?
That's what I said.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Why?
Any other questions?
Do you want me to say why? He's asking why.
Pardon?
Or ask why.
Say again?
Why?
Why? Okay. It is because it would entail then setting up an association meeting, getting a quorum there, and that's just what the bylaw committee, the 2025 bylaw committee, just wanted to review all the articles, and we'll take into consideration any amendments that were proposed by the 2024, but to go ahead and just start from anew and go through from anew. And that's the reason that the committee decided that. Committee presented that to the executive committee. The executive committee approved that.
Can I, Carolyn?
Let me say one thing about that. We operate by this. Robert's Rules of Order. Can you hear me? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I have to eat this thing. This organization decided a long time ago to follow Robert's Rules of Order for parliamentary procedure. The parliamentary procedure for a campus-wide resident-involved vote has particular details. It has to be in your hands 21 days prior. Everyone has to have a ballot. We can do by hand or we can do by a piece of paper. But the 2024 Bylaws Committee did not follow parliamentary procedure. That is why it is null and void.
Let me comment, because I believe in transparency, and having worked for many, many years, working with all levels of an organization, I just have, we all have our superpowers. What I can do is walk into a room and know there's some tension here, nobody's talking about it, and let's get to the bottom of this and not just let it fester. So, I'm starting new. I have a 2025 board, different members. We're new members on the executive committee for this year. I just asked a question. There seems to be some questions, some unanswered questions about what transpired last year in terms of putting forward recommendations for bylaws changes. A lot of them had something to do with retired treasurers. Now, when I asked people who were part of that process, who voted in that meeting when the changes were presented last year, they said they were voting to send it on for approval by all residents. It's not the executive committee that makes that decision. It's the residents. And I take that seriously. We don't ask the entire population that often for a vote on something. And I thought, if we've got confusion about why, remember in the first meeting I said, I constantly ask why. If people cannot explain why are we doing this, then I'm going to push till I get to the bottom of it. And it became clear that there was a lack of understanding what was behind those recommendations. So we just went ahead, brought in the people who could clarify those questions for us, because that had not been done in 2024. And I am not pointing a finger at anybody. This just happens. These kind of things happen all the time. Somebody assumes that everybody understands what they're talking about. Now, see, to your credit, Strother, you said, what did you just say? Because if you thought, well, I thought that was taken care of. Well, those are the kind of things you just got to deal with right then. So we dealt with them, and then CW, now heading up the new bylaws committee, has come forward with a proposal. Let's make sure, if we're going to do something in front of, take it to all the residents, we're going to be able to explain it clearly. People will know what they're voting for, and not just be like, you know, when I go to vote, it's clear you're voting for certain candidates, but then all that other stuff is tacked on there. A lot of proposals and things that are legal, so legal you can't even understand what you're voting for without doing a lot of research. And a lot of people don't do that research. So you might vote yes, and what you really meant was no. So this is what we're trying to get to the bottom of.
Thank you.
Okay, and I would like to add, there is no provision in the bylaws for the 2025 bylaw committee to take any action regarding the 2024 bylaws. And if there's any action to be taken, it ended up at the association board. If there's any action to be taken, the association board should step in and take the action.
Thank you, CW.
Any other questions?
Thank you, CW. Yes?
The board, when you are about to say something or ask a question or whatever, please use the mic that's close to you on the table.
Thank you. I meant to say that too. We get caught up in all this. Okay. Culinary, Judy Lee.
Good morning. I hope you noticed in the link this morning that there is a mixer before the Valentine's dinner tomorrow. Hope you'll all be able to attend. I think you'll enjoy that very much. My comments come from our meeting on February 5th. We talked about floor and cottage parties. This year, we're going to schedule those through Linda Carter, our new restaurant manager. And this year, you won't necessarily, unless you want to, go through the buffet if you're using the veranda room. You'll have the option of 2 plated entrees, sort of like the birthday luncheon. So that'll add a new dimension to our floor parties. You may have already noticed the change in color of our hot bar vouchers. The black and white ones are no longer honored, so if you have those, you can do away with them. We're trying to make them more visible. We're trying to make the hot bar vouchers more visible and avoid the vouchers being inadvertently misplaced or saved to use for another time. So we're trying to get everybody up to speed with the current vouchers. Also, recruiting and interviewing continues for our open positions in culinary. We have 2 part-time servers, 1 part-time medical aide, 2 line cooks, and 3 part-time dishwashers. So we're working on that. I wanted to bring out, sort of in line with what Caroline was saying, in our last culinary comment card report, we had 23 food concerns and dining experience concerns. So I wanted to let you know that in our meeting, we figured out that 9 of those had already been addressed, and I'll just briefly go through those. We're trying to improve bistro wait times, so the pre-prepared salads are not customizable. You can't take something off, add it. When you get your salad, you're free to go to the salad bar and add something if you need to. The very popular taco bar was reintroduced at lunch. That was packed that day. A lot of people wanted a taco. And it's now going to alternate between lunch and dinner, so everyone gets to enjoy it. We had a request for Thousand Island dressing that's now available on the salad bar. We have very positive feedback on the chicken livers, but they have quite an impact on our fryer oil. So they're going to continue to be offered, but sporadically because of that. We had quite a laugh when Chad was talking about the deep cleaner that's used to get the glasses clean. They have tea or lipstick stains, and he referred to our industrial lipstick that women use, and that's becoming a problem. But glasses that continue to be stained will be replaced. We had a comment that the portion sizes seem to have changed, and we haven't made changes to portion sizes, but if you're particularly hungry that day and you feel your serving size is insufficient, please ask for a supervisor or manager to help you. We had a comment that our fruit tasted like it had sugar water added. We don't add sugar water to the fruit. It's fresh and naturally varies in sweetness. We also had concerns about the fruit running out too early, and we are addressing those by ensuring adequate preparation and monitoring portion control. We determined that the flour mixture we were using for fish was too salty on its own, even without adding salt. So we've moved to a different mix going forward, and I'm sure we'll hear whether that's working or not. And then residents frequently request certain items that they prefer, and while culinary aims to bring back those popular dishes like the lava cake, they also strive to introduce new items for variety. So work with us on that, try the new items, and let us know how those are going. And then the committee is also discussing to be sure that complete ingredient information is listed on the menus in K4, and additional work continues on that particular item. Our next meeting is March the 5th. You're all invited to attend. We love to have guests there. We always ask the guests if they've come to make comments. If you don't have a comment, that's fine. You can attend anyway, but we'd love to see you there. And I think that's it. Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Housekeeping, Pam Ellis.
Okay, Housekeeping Committee. We met on Tuesday, January the 28th, and the meeting was called to order at 1:30. And I want to let you know who the members of the Housekeeping Committee are, because we have representatives. We are well represented in the east and west buildings. From east, we have Lib Alston and Judy Scruton and Betsy Hopkins. And from west, we have Carol W. Brown, Sandy McCrae, Ginger Malice, and Harriet Beach. And so these are all people that you can feel free to approach with housekeeping questions. You'll see that we still have no representation from the carriage homes. And we would love to have somebody or two from the carriage homes, because we recognize that the needs are different and the schedules are different. And so anyway, we're trying to be aware and ask our leaders, because we also have staff that attends. And this past month, both Shanda Jones and Lupe Ontiveros were there, and sometimes Manuel comes. And we learn so much from these guys, let me tell you. We spent this first meeting, because we didn't have any specific complaints to address, so we spent this meeting so that we could be sure that we had an understanding of what the biweekly housekeeping includes, because that seems to be the thing that comes up all the time. You know, is, well, they did this and they didn't do that. Well, I'm also here to say that I think Scott has put this in the link several times, but some of the confusion that was happening was, for some time, the book, the resident handbooks that some of us got when we moved in, that hasn't happened. And so it's not as clear that there's a place to go to find out, to reference what's included and what's not. Well, I found it myself, but I found it on K4. I didn't find it on the portal, but I'm not saying it's not there, but I found it on K4, and I did that by going to library, which is one of the choices on the left with directory and all that, and then resources, and then resident services. And there is a handbook out there, just like I got when I moved in. And you can page down and see, and reference all kinds of things, not just housekeeping. Anyway, and I also wanted to say, if you don't, I've had people say, well, I don't have K4. How do you get K4? Put in a work order or talk to Julia. Jeremiah can help you get K4. I used to be able to help, but I've kind of forgotten. So maybe our team of technical people can help you get K4. It's an app, and it is so easy to use, and there's lots of good information out there. Okay, but back to housekeeping. I also want I didn't understand this till I was on the committee, but housekeeping is a part of what's called environmental services, and that Shanda heads that up. And I'm sure you experienced her, working with her during your move-in. So environmental services includes move-in coordination, resident parking. None of us know why. That goes along with housekeeping, but Lupe pretty much takes care of that. And then bi-weekly and annual housekeeping, as well as the housekeeping for the whole building and around the fronts of the doors and that sort of thing. Maintenance takes care of a lot of the outside things. Lupe reported that the housekeeping staff is now fully staffed at 31 and a half employees. I haven't met the half, but the crews clean 15 to 16 apartments per day, and 6 or 7 cottages are cleaned per day. And it's separate crews. It's a separate crew for the west building, and a separate crew for the east building, and a separate crew for the carriage homes. Sometimes there will be substitutions as people are out sick and that sort of thing. New hire housekeepers are trained on the job by either Manuel or Jamian. And I encourage you to meet them if you haven't. They're fantastic. Okay. Also, I meant to say, when you find your resident handbook, also in there is a list of resident responsibilities for cleaning, like keeping your toilet clean daily, cleaning the inside of your microwave. There's a list of things that are yours to do and not to rely on them. As most of you probably know, you can swap some things out, and it explains about that in the handbook too. So if you don't want your second bathroom cleaned, because you're like me and you live by yourself and don't use it very often, you can have your sliding glass door wiped on the inside and the outside one time. You can swap things out on a visit by visit basis. Okay, this is something that we spent a little time on, because we've also had people bring up having the beds made. That's something that you can swap out. There are quite a few people that swap out their dusting for having the linen changed on their bed. Okay, and so there's a common theme to the feedback, which is they don't do it like I do it. It's basically what it is. Some of the things are a learning process. Like we had one person who had the mattress cover was taken off with all of the linens, and then when they made the bed, the mattress cover wasn't put back on. So some of them are training issues, and then somebody had the bedspread put on sideways instead of front to back. Anyway, we came up with the idea of taking a photo of your bed when it's made up the way that you like it. And that will help the housekeepers to know exactly how you want your bed. Lupe and Manuel are performing routine quality inspections of cleanings. They drop in 1 or 2 days a week to different apartments, and I apologize, I'm not sure, I guess carriage homes too, to see if there's something that they need to retrain on or catch up on. This aids Lupe and Manuel in identifying where more instruction, clarification, and coaching may be needed. But we still highly, highly encourage people, instead of complaining to your neighbor what's wrong. I love what Sharon said. Maybe one day say, they made the bed up perfectly. But contact Lupe. Email is the best way because that comes to her cell phone. She gets it right away. They want to know immediately so they can go back right then to the crew that's there and have more training. It's also okay this is for the big house, if you see the crew down the hall, it's okay to go and say, hey, can you come back and let me show you didn't get cleaned behind the toilet or whatever it was. That's okay too. But this storing up for, someone coming to me and say they haven't gotten my shower right for 6 months, that isn't helping. That's just, let's find out what's happening and address it closer to the time when it happened. We meet the last Tuesday of every month at 1:30 in this meeting room that's right over here. The next meeting will be February 25th, and everybody's welcome just to come and listen, ask questions. If you're in a carriage home and you'd like to be a part of the committee, come on. We'd love to have you. Any questions? No, I don't provide donuts, but you can bring your own food if you want.
I'm just teasing.
Thank you, Pam. Landscaping, Carol Ann Armstrong.
Good morning.
Morning.
We had our first meeting in February because I had COVID in January. But it was a very good meeting, and Joey Brock from Landscape Management was there. Usually Corey Benson will be there, and the on-site manager is Shane Hatcher. And he should be on site. I doubt if he was the last 2 days, but he should be on site most days. They also have an in-house irrigation specialist and turf care, which should be advantageous to us. The thing most people have been stopping me about is cleaning up and pruning the hydrangeas. And they promised they would be done by the end of this week. But Caroline, the timelines don't always work out in landscaping. But they have cleaned up, but they just haven't finished pruning. The replacement landscape in front of the west portico should be completed by the end of February. The memory garden still needs a little river rock for erosion places, but thank goodness we have a new path, because it might have washed away in the last 2 days if we had not had it. Unfortunately, it's not rollator friendly. The fountain in the memory garden took a hit from the freeze, but Stephen is looking into that and is going to present something for the residents' approval. The train garden has a new fence which looks very nice. Both the fountains in the train garden need repair, and they have needed repair for a long time. So, but Stephen said he hoped by the end of April he would have that taken care of. And it also needed cleaning up, but that will be done. The dead trees along Mount Vernon should be removed by the end of February, and an irrigation system is going to be put there before any replanting. There is a plan for landscaping around the maintenance shed. Now, I don't know when that's going to be done. There's erosion around a number of sidewalks, and landscape management is looking into that. We should have new pine straw by the end of February or the 1st of March. Under new business, several people mentioned the area below the bistro wall along the path to the pond. It looks terrible. They're overgrown junipers that don't have green until you get about this high. I don't know a timeline on addressing that. The cold damaged shrubs and roses should be pruned in January or early March. The proposals for the chapel garden are in, and I don't know the schedule on that, but you hope to start.
The bids, did I know?
You're on.
It is? Okay, this is better. Yeah, I know. Yes, the bids and sketches and drawings have been submitted, and they're being reviewed right now, and to see how we can do it in phases. It's a little more than we expected money-wise, so we're also trying to see where we can come up with some additional dollars for that, but more to come on that. And we will likely put out some poster boards with like a more kind of a corrugated plastic thick that you can put out in the lobbies once we finalize what the drawings are going to be, so that you can all see them as well. So more to come in this quarter.
And I'm going to end on a positive note. I didn't have irrigation on the agenda this month. And people asked why, and I said, well, it's turned off. But Stephen says he is confident when it is turned on this spring, it's going to work. So we can hope that that happens. Are there any questions?
Is there a date that they generally turn it on?
Oh, Linda. No, it should be, they'll turn it on back there.
Is there a date that they generally turn it on, or could we find out when it is turned on?
It is weather determined. And, you know, we can have some nasty Marches. If you've lived in this area for very long, you know we usually have our biggest snows in March. So it just depends on the weather. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Scott, I think that would be an important thing. Maybe you can use that system you have where you send out that blast when bad weather, that they're turning it on that day so we can all run out and verify that. It'll be a celebration.
You got me? Your rain gauges, so you can tell me how much collected in it.
Yeah.
Which has actually been done many times.
Yeah. Okay. Legislative issues, we won't have a report this month. Probably any of you who know Larry Jewett know he fell and he's hurt his neck. And he needed time to recover and rehab. And so we have had two people graciously step forward to be co-chairs, Dick Bergen and Gary Riley. So they will have them, they've already put out something to everybody who signed up to be on that committee, and they'll have a meeting soon, and they'll report next time. So we wish Larry a speedy recovery. Life engagement, Karen Harden.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think y'all all got the LAC planned events, February going on, and you might have noticed there are a lot more things than usual if you've been on the committee before. Vicki and Sue are really working hard to plan the year out ahead of time. And there is a change from what I sent you on July. Silver Notes Patriotic Concert is on the 8th instead of the 9th. So it was a typo on my part because they're on Tuesday. And we're already working for New Year's Eve. She's interviewing a fabulous DJ. So, I mean, we're really going ahead with a lot of things coming up. But if y'all have any suggestions, you know, for something you would like. We're trying new things. I think everybody liked the Bless Your Heart trivia, something a little different. And so, you know, just let somebody said, Anna Coswell suggested an Appalachian hoedown. We're going to investigate that. And see how that goes. But any questions? All right, thank you.
Maintenance and safety, Herb Paul.
The Maintenance and Safety Committee met last Thursday, the 6th of February. I want to talk about 3 or 4 items that have been discussed. The broken glass on the sidewalk between the dumpster and West has been a problem for some period of time. The current dumpster that's being used in East and West have been sealed up, and I think it has improved considerably the glass on the sidewalks. However, a new contract is in the mill. They are getting very close to the finalization of that new contract, and it will require a sealed dumpster at each location. The Campus Improvement Committee project required painting and replacement of some items in the clubhouse area. They also required some of the furniture to be replaced. The furniture has been ordered and should be in within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that should be done by next meeting. The next item is you will recall that in April of last year, on the 24th of April in West, there was a fire alarm went off. There was a lot of confusion as to what was supposed to take place. Many of the occupants stayed in their apartment, and many did not get into an area where they would be safe if there was a fire. Fortunately, that was not a fire. There was smoke, but it was not a fire. Since that took place, Stephen has been working with ACTS headquarters and with the fire department considerably long time to revise our evacuation plan so that it would be simpler to look at and understand, and that the evacuation would take place more importantly, that people would evacuate. So he has had 2 meetings now with the fire department. The last one was the beginning of this week, and they are getting close to resolution of the revised evacuation plan. So in the next several weeks, we should have an evacuation done. We will not tell people when it's going to happen, because it would not be an evacuation. It would be kind of a planned exercise instead. So this will not be told in advance. And remember, please evacuate. And if you have a mobility issue, get to the stairwell, because at least the stairwells are more secure than the rest of the apartment areas. So look for that to happen in the next week or 2.
Herb?
Yes.
Just want to add, before we have the unannounced training set, we're going to have training sessions before we have the unannounced alarms and practice sessions. So there'll be some training going on in March.
Yes, they will go over the plan so that everybody will be familiar with it. The last item I'd like to talk about is there should be a new work order system pilot program which should start in March. And this should improve the system so that it will be not only a good system, but it will be written down and everybody will understand what the system is. Is there any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Memorials, Asden is not feeling well today, so we have Anna Gines to report.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I wake up every morning and I'm grateful for all of you. I have served in your position, Sharon, and I know how hard you're working, and I appreciate you. I
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
every one of you for the work that you do in the committees and the work that you do in the board. And I appreciate our housemaster and every one of the staff here, because I just love living here, and it's because of all of you who make that a really nice place for me. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
how good
Yes.
that feels when you start that way?
The Grove of Remembrance is about to get 3 new leaves. And for those of you who are fairly new, I want to mention that if you have a friend who has passed away, who has lived here at Lanier Village, and for some reason they never got a leaf in their name, and you would like to provide the $50 fee and the card that you can find out in the communications room, and have a leaf in their name put up, you may do that. There's no reason not to, and we encourage you. A couple of them going up this time are people who are not spouses and not family members, but they just want to remember folks who lived here and passed away. There's several of us who are single, and so if you see somebody that you would like to honor that way, please feel free to do that. Also, I want to mention on the chapel garden, for those of you, again, who are new, we have a lot of new people here, that garden will also be honoring all of the services, all the military services in our country, and all of our veterans who have served. So that'll be a nice addition to our campus, and that will be part of that new garden that'll be done out there. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask me? I'm on the committee, I'll try to answer them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks for starting us out that way. And now, special projects, Don Langen.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll actually be reporting on the nonprofit corporation, LVE Retired Treasurers Incorporated. And there's 2 arms, the revenue generating arm, which is Retired Treasurers resale shop, and the project funding group, which is the Special Projects Committee. Last year, Retired Treasurers, this is a broken record, but they had another record year in sales, $61,866. Consignment and online sales contributed the largest growth in that, and it totaled $12,735. Just as a comparison, back in 2021, sales for the year were $31,250. So that's a $30,000 increase in just 3 years. And I think so much of the credit for that goes to Kitty Marlowe. Kitty completed her last year as a general manager, and Ann Damon is taking over as general manager. Special projects. Pam mentioned the committee members, and I think it would be a good idea just to do the same for special projects, because a lot of people really don't know who's on the committee. I'm the chair. Linda Askew is the vice chair. Donna Wood is the bookkeeper. Dee Hammonds is the secretary. Karen Hickman is the representative from Retired Treasurers. Kitty Marlowe. We have 2 new members, Struther Randolph and Kevin Guidry. And our final member is an ex officio member with full voting rights, and that's Scott Cairns. But in addition to being having full voting rights, Scott has one other duty. He has veto power over any request that comes to the committee. It's his decision whether we consider it or not. We had our meeting January 16th, Thursday, January 16th. We approved 5 projects, excuse me, totaling $19,222. $2,000 was approved for miscellaneous equipment here in the auditorium. That's for music stands, cabling, just things that wear out that have to be replaced. We approved $999 for a new portable camera. And the thought was that the AV staff, John Ross and Kevin Guidry, could just install that themselves. Well, that turned out not to be the case, and as they got into the installation, they found that additional equipment was needed and some additional expertise. So we approved an addendum to that request for funding for $894. $10,722 was approved for 4 digital pianos in Willowbrook and Oak Ridge. 3 were just digital keyboards on a stand, and then I guess you would call it a micro grand piano in Willowbrook. The new keyboards are going in Reflections, Willowbrook first floor, OBT second floor, and the micro grand in Willowbrook 2. And that's to replace a donated baby grand piano that collapsed and was destroyed. So the timing was good on that one. We approved $500 for annual funding for Daryl Getz and a group of volunteers for bird seed and bird feeders in Willowbrook and Oak Ridge, all throughout that community. And then $5,000 was, well, actually, Campus Improvement asked for $2,500 for accent pieces in the clubhouse. And the committee on motion increased that to $5,000. Karen can talk about that. And this is to go with the new furniture coming to the clubhouse. Little history. Starting in 2006, Special Projects funded their first projects, and it totaled $3,335. From 2006 through 2024, that number has grown to $434,000. Plus the $19,000 we approved in January brings it up over $450,000 that Special Projects has approved. Last year, we approved 21 requests for funding totaling $67,000. Any questions? Anna?
There's a mic coming. Oh, she's got.
Did you say portable video camera for
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of what the suggestions are for how that will be used?
One of the suggestions was to mount that camera on a tripod and probably put it somewhere in this area to focus on a piano keyboard, and then it can be projected up on the screen.
It won't be useful outside of this room?
It can be, yes. In the auditorium, in the chapel, the meeting room down the hall. probably even in the reservation side of the dining room. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Campus improvement, Karen Cannon.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We are getting many projects completed by our committee. If you've noticed, the clubhouse shutters have gone up. Last week, we've gotten many positive comments on those. It gives the ability to have light when we need it, particularly in the area where if it's dark in the card room, the blue area, but it also gets very, very bright in there. And they've had the ability to close the shutters and make it more comfortable. And Julie at the front desk is very happy that she doesn't have the afternoon, evening sun directly on her. In addition, we have obtained some artwork from LVE Storage and some other sources. And last Friday, we had we invited a representative from each floor to view the artwork and select what they'd like to update the east and the west lobbies. Just to kind of change around some artwork. Some have been brought in that other floors have gotten, and so just changing up our look a little bit. If you'll look, we've made some changes here in the auditorium. We have new sconce lighting around the sides to kind of update what we've had, and if you'll notice, all the chandeliers are taken down. So we're changing the look a little bit in here. I'll have to make a little bit of change on your report, Herb. The last report from our interior designer in Charlotte is that the furniture is arriving in the Charlotte warehouse and will be stored there until all the pieces are arrived. We would like to have an open house of the new look as a whole. The arrival date of some of the upholstered pieces will be in April. So hopefully we'll have a new look sometime in May. So we'll have to do a little by little. We're just waiting on furniture to be manufactured and have it all put together. So, any questions?
Thank you, Karen. Samaritan Fund, Jimmy Faulkner.
Thank you and good morning.
Morning.
I'm pleased to report to you on the activities of your Samaritan's Fund Committee. We held our first meeting of the new committee on Thursday, February 6th, and we were happy to welcome Ken Freitz, Ada Lou Horn, and Ed Ziesness back to the committee, as they have all served on the committee in previous years and add very much to the committee. And our remaining committee members are myself as chairman, Scott Cairns, Vicki Darty, Mark Creviston, Ann Horn as secretary, Vicki Lott, Brian McCartney, Nancy Moore, Sarah Pickard, and Virginia Chandler. We quickly reviewed last year's results, which I'm happy to report. We exceeded our 2024 goal, which was set at $88,000. And our total raised for 2024 was $105,800. This did include one large gift. We also established our 2025 goal at $100,000. So we have much work to do. However, I'm confident we will reach the goal. We also received a report, which I had actually requested of Elizabeth, comparing the LVE Samaritan's Fund to those of the other 5 ACTS communities that are in our region. And it also gave us numbers relative to our comparative number of residents. Our fund is next to last in the region as far as assets, while we have the second largest resident population in the region. And we know that LVE residents don't want to be anything but first in our region. So you see, we do have some more work to do. The remainder of our meeting involved planning for our spring fundraiser, which is the annual brunch that is scheduled for Saturday, April 26th from 9:30 until 11 a.m. You'll be hearing more about the brunch as the time for the event draws nearer. Are there any questions? Yes, Strawberry.
I think the 100, even though we may not be at the top, 105,000 is a lot of money. Do you know how much we spent out to help our residents?
I do happen to have that. For 24, the funds used were $77,121. Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All right, that's a lot to think about, isn't it? All this new information, and you had Caroline pointing out some things too about how the committees can think going forward. I'll remind you of what I said last month, that simple process of start, stop, continue. Process improvement just by asking those 3 questions, and it can enhance our experience here in our whole environment if we keep looking at process improvement and where we can start, stop, continue. So, any comments, questions before we? Okay.
I hate to be the one asking the questions, but I'm not the brightest bulb at this table. Caroline's doing a great job corresponding with us as hall leaders, and I would just like a clarification from her for our benefit, how we can best communicate information to the people on our hall. We've talked about the minutes being available. I saw they were on the link, I think, a while back. Also, I've heard that K4 has the Ask the Director information. Could you clarify for all of us exactly where these items would be found so we can pass it along to our residents?
Thank you for asking, Strother. Traditionally, and Virginia Chandler said, feel free to modify. I'm trying to get a handle on how much information you want and what's convenient. We do have everybody's email addresses that you keep current with the link. If you have a change in email, let it be known to the link. Julia does keep up the Excel spreadsheet, but it's dependent on your getting the information corrected. The minutes. This is Thursday. My goal is that Monday, they will have 2 hard copies, of which the minutes are now approaching 40 pages long. And some of this gleaning we're going to do is stays in committee, we just get the synopsis. That's the goal. But in each of the libraries of East and West, there's a notebook, and it has, West has got everything from the getting of dirt. They're all there. But each binder has a year number and it's right at that first computer when you walk in the door. The East Library, the computer at the back, will have and does have those minutes. I do give the link, the minutes, on the day that they are filed, which is usually Monday after. And then they put it in the link the next day with a hyperlink that you can either download to print or you can put it in a file. On the day that the minutes are given to the link, I also send it to all 19 on the board. And then you can do with them what you wish. A lot have just done a link to the email addresses of your population. Some of you are really good that when Scott had his Ask the Director, you got that information from him because you're part of the steering committee of this wonderful place. And you've already sent out the Ask the Director. People can make the choice. They can either not know what to do with it, they can delete it, they can print it, put it in a binder, or they can put it in a file and look at it later. We have two other sources of location. One is K4. And may I have a show of hands, how many of you have the K4 app? Hallelujah. If you don't have the app, call Jeremiah or Evan and get the app downloaded, because you can't get K4 until you have the app. Corporate is dealing with how we're going to ultimately use that, plus the original ACTS portal that we have. The last culinary report was from Angel. Do y'all remember that? I don't know, that was food service directors three times back. So we need to update the original ACTS portal where we do our online bill pay. I can put the minutes there once we figure out how to get into it. Jeremiah put the minutes into K4, and Pam walked you through how you find it. It's very involved. Sometimes the first page has the last admittance, which was given, and the minutes are there. Also, the financial report was there. The resources and the library, and it leads to the committees. That site is chock full, plus your profile, plus your friends, plus the directory. I mean, it is loaded. So maybe an in-service on K4 again, but you've got the two libraries have hard copies. Some of you in the past had gotten hard copies from Virginia, and I assume that y'all have graduated out of that to where you can print your own. If you have a problem with that, email me and let me know, and we'll figure out how best to get you things timely so that you can report to your constituents. We did a poll at the very beginning of this session, and Linda's our representative from East. She's got 52 souls under her. Many of you, depending on which floor, thank you so much, depending on which floor, you have 35 to 40 to 50 souls that I hope y'all have a phone tree or a way to check on each other, because I sure would hate to be gone and nobody know it, you know? I got a party planned. So do you have any suggestions of elsewhere you would like to have the minutes? We've tried to put them everywhere available. Maybe we've missed something. So email me at rablvesecretary@gmail.com.
Thank you. That's all. Just thank you. I think we'll all can use that information.
Thank you, Strada.
Somebody's coming.
Oh, thank you, dear. I have 3 residents on my floor whose phone numbers have changed, but they cannot edit them in K4. Who do they send the information to?
Send them to me, and I'll route it to the right place.
Okay, thank you.
It's,
What?
Just
is that what you want?
Just a quick follow-up to Strada. That was what I was going to ask. We talk about K4, we talk about the portal, we talk about the forum, and I think we need to always be aware that we want our folks that we represent to know what these things are. It occurred to me that there are those, well, what happens at the forum? Just a little quick explanation of what takes place at the forum. So thank you, Strada, that's what I was thinking, and as representatives, we need to make sure that our folks know how to use these properly.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wrote down a note to set up Jeremiah and his volunteer group, residents that have volunteered, to do some training sessions on K4. It's just something I think could happen monthly, like that residents can come to, just like a workshop or something.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Wouldn't hurt, as Linda just said, we have in the link every day, we got a forum. How many of you know what the forum is? How many of you people know what the forum is? So it might be helpful, maybe add a sentence in the link as to what the forum is, and
Yeah.
the thing when the guy comes down from Charlotte and all that sort of thing. Explain what that is.
It's a thing. Okay. Good. Every time we announce in there when it has the date of a meeting and who it is, they could just have that. Just a sentence. This is what this meeting is. That's a good idea. All right. We went a little longer today, but I think we got some very good information, lots of committee reports. I want to thank John Ross and his team. I don't know, we take for granted some of these things that just it makes it move very smoothly, so I want to acknowledge them. He said they work for food, so as long as there's coffee and food back here, they'll show up and help us each time. Next meeting is March 13th. I will not be here, but Ches is going to handle it. You can wish me luck. I'm got something on my bucket list to see the Northern Lights. I'm going to Norway to the tippy top, and if I can't see it on that trip, I guess I'm not meant to see it. So that's where I'll be. And I need to show y'all something. Last time when I closed the meeting, I was feeling over here for where's a gavel, because I thought, there wasn't one. Sally, I see you. Is Hoyt here? No. Okay. A few days after the meeting, Hoyt Bonage, who's like an artist working with wood, shows up at our door and says, I have something for you. And he made this beautiful mallet because he's an artist. Now it's kind of huge, but it's beautiful. And so I now have something to officially close this meeting. Yay! Yay!